as I said in the introduction, we're really looking at that kind of past 7 years, where things have come from, where they're moving to, how things are changing, that's worked, hasn't worked. So that's, if we start with examples of technology that has significantly improved construction. So Damir, if I start with you, give me an example of, one that's really pushed the boundaries, done better than maybe even you thought it would, and how is it really providing benefit?
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. In the last 7 years, we're taking all of us are in the airplane, with 30,000 feet above, and since we don't want to have any turbulence, I will not be saying that BIM has played a significant role over the last 7 years. Rather, I'll probably go with something that Tony would be happy with, which is construction management software, and to be specific, cloud. Over the last, existence of the CTF, I think one of the greatest benefactors to all of us was cloud technology and construction management software. And for a very, very simple reason. The complexities of, what all of us in the room are trying to achieve simply means that we cannot do it alone. We need to be in position to work with each other regardless of, I guess what's in the contract. But, we have the whole supply chain, and we've heard that in the previous conversation, depending on a number of parties to be working together. Cloud and construction management softwares has facilitated that. The other aspect, and mainly because I'm a technologist and I have been involved a lot with the software developers and software teams and so on and so forth, would be if I can have a show of hands, who is a BIM manager, BIM coordinator, or who had that title in the last 7 years in the room? Don't be shy. Yeah, there must be more. Right. Not many. Oh, that's amazing. Now when I have conversations with BIM managers and BIM coordinators and others, it feels to me that I'm talking to software developers. Here's a variable, here's a software, here's a code. This piece of code is not working. We need to debug it, and so on and so forth. So I think there has been a significant shift as well in terms of how do we, in construction, deliver the work.
So, Mohammed, same to you. What do you think has really pushed the boundaries? How has it helped?
So, good morning first. So, as a developer, I believe we are seeing the journey of the project from scratch, from the first paper till handover and giving the keys. And for the past 7 years, Azizi Developments was involved with a lot of several projects. I believe all of us, not only Azizi Developments, faced this challenge during the COVID time. So the challenge at that time, if this COVID came 20 years back, maybe the world will stop 100%. I remember 2019, while COVID time, the construction stage is starting from the engineering, not the execution itself. So we had a good meeting at that time. We classified our project. We thought that a lot of construction activities could be accelerated if we go through the engineering process during the COVID time. So we arranged offices in several spaces, and at that time we had also some consultants outside UAE, some consultants to Europe, some at Africa, and we managed to have the engineering process and the which is after 1 year accelerated a lot for the construction process. Then one of the biggest challenge we faced before. The second thing is just few months back, Azizi announced one of the highest tower at the world. I believe could be the second highest in the world, inshallah. So one of the challenge also it was because the location of this tower, it was in the middle of the Sheikh Zayed Road. Mobilization and dealing with the authority, and so at that time we dealt with a lot of authorities, starting from the civil aviation, DMD, and we saw how Dubai is what we say like ahead for the technology, how they are managing the sky, not only with the airplane, with the fly taxi, with so we filed a lot. We are facing, I believe we will see a lot also for the coming few years.
Okay. So, Redo, if I could bring you in, and we can all see you in the room. So, in terms of, as you've started to increase your use of technology, what are the pitfalls you've also learned to avoid? You know, as much as you're using it, you've learned what not to do. How do you make sure you don't fall into them as well when you go into new projects?
Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be joining you. Throughout 22 years of technology, being in construction or the other fields that I've been working in, I can sum it up to 3 or 4 points. The most critical pitfall I've learned is to avoid customization. Customization is very tempting for the project owners and the stakeholders, as it promises to meet every unique need of the project and my client. However, this leads to increased complexity, higher costs, and longer implementation times. I would do this and focus on leveraging out-of-the-box functionalities of the software that I'm going to use with the proper configuration, and gradually introduce customizations based on actual needs from my end user and their feedback. This approach will accelerate the deployment process, but most of all, it will allow us to identify what truly adds value versus what might have been unnecessary enhancement. The other thing, which is a little bit similar to customization, but it's the hunt of perfection from the initial rollout. Striving to be perfect in the solution that's going to be implemented can lead to what I call an analysis paralysis, delaying the benefits of the digitalization, complicating things. Having a functional version and running up quickly and then refining this version will encourage users to be engaged and will have continuous improvement with more user engagement. I would conclude with that it's essential also to recognize that not every best practice in the industry will fit perfectly in the company or the region that you are in. You will have to be adaptable and also take care of the culture that you are in. It's crucial to learn and align with specific needs and standards, but these must be tailored. These practices must be tailored and aligned to your specific needs and constraints within the company, your policy and procedure of the region. This will require deep understanding of operations and willingness to adapt and iterate on each and every practice. I would summarize this that customizations, hunting for perfection, tailoring the best practices for your need, and of course, fostering an interdepartmental collaboration and communication. All technology aspects has to be interconnected, so each department is aware of any transaction done and how will it be impacted and what needs to be done by other colleagues in other departments. I would say that these are the most common pitfalls that any technology implementation should avoid.
Okay. And I mean, Imad, again, you have over the years radically ramped up the use of technology in your organization. So you must have seen what works really well, and again also learn, what are the pitfalls we need to make sure we don't fall into.
Thank you for having me. I'm not gonna repeat what Reda said. Great points. Another important aspect of it is the construction industry is a people industry, which we need to always ensure that whatever technologies we use is actually can be used by the people that we have. Again, many technologies, we've been hearing it over the last two panels, are tailored for, they can be implemented across the world, but this specific region has its own challenges with its own, even between UAE and Saudi, we have different challenges. So we have to pick the technologies that works for us, that makes sense to the people, and also that people can utilize it and that actually add value on it. The other thing is the time it takes for people to get used to a technology. And this is where it comes to what Rida mentioned before, is allowing the time for adoption. Not every technology will give you the value in the first 6 months or 1 year. Some technologies takes lots of more time for people to get used to it. Not everyone in the industry are tech savvy. He asked the question a bit about BIM, and we see lots of BIM people here, and they're all tech savvy, but not everyone in our industry is. And we need to allow that time for everyone to embrace it. And the third last point related to what Rida also mentioned is the standardization part. If we ensure we select the right tools, we give the right time for people to learn, we train them, we support them, we guide them. Sometimes we have to fail on some solutions and move on. But then once we standardize our tools, then after a couple of years, we start to see the real value. And then afterwards, try from project to project. Again, the projects are in nature, are in silos. Try to take the same tool and use it on the next job. Then you start to see the real values.
Okay. And so, Tony, to bring you in, I guess you have a slightly different perspective in terms of, what you think has worked well, but also, what hasn't so far worked. So, maybe just both.
I mean, good morning, everybody, as well, by the way. I think that there's loads of different technologies that haven't really kind of kicked off in construction. I think the biggest one for me, or one of the things that I've seen has really been underutilized, is augmented reality. And I think it showed a big promise maybe 10, even 15 years ago of the earliest kind of AR solutions in the industry. But it's never really been adopted that well. Companies haven't really kind of bought into it. I think people have started to merge that technology into other solutions to make it work. But I still think it's been very well underutilized within the industry and can provide a really big value.
But do you think that will change?
I think it will. It partly comes down to what we've all said about the standardization of solutions. I know in the previous talk there was talk about mandated use of technology, which I think's very, very important in the industry. One of the ways you're going to drive adoption of technology in this space is by mandating the use of it. And I think if you can do that, it's definitely going to help the industry.
And if we just bounce down, are there other major technologies you think just haven't quite made it, but still could?
I think modular is one of the technologies that add lots of value. It ticks the boxes from all aspects. It utilizes BIM, it utilizes digital. It takes the project outside a construction space. It goes into the industrialization, which allows lessons learned, reducing waste. Ticks all the boxes from all aspects. But I think some of the challenges that prevent modular from kicking really big, I mean, it's happening. It's happening in many places, especially in Saudi and UAE. We're utilizing it maybe much better than many places in the world. But to take it to the next level, I think this is where involvement needs to happen from very early stages, because the project needs to be thought as modular. You cannot just design a project as a standard project and then you try to apply modular afterwards. This is where the pitfalls happen. In early stage thinking, where developers decide to build in modular, then work with the right partners, choosing the right systems to modularize the projects, and then working with the municipalities, which we've seen lots of movement in the space, to get the right approvals for this, then I think modular will be a big one for all of us.
And actually, the article I was referencing this morning, which was saying that the industry was a digital laggard, one of the points that was making, or one of the justifications was for modular, well, it's hard because due to the factory environment, you have to know what you're going to do beforehand. But surely that's the whole point. That you shouldn't be encouraging continual change. It should be largely in place.
I'd like to add to this in terms of why is it that has a great potential, but it may have not been realized yet. I think it's permeating across every single person in the room, and it's money. So one of the things, and there's been a number of articles in the past, lots of thought leadership, but it's very misunderstood. I had a chat with someone last week, and we're seeing some developments in the US. But one of the things that we would like to, or every single person here would like to do, is something that would be blockchain for contracts management or supply chain management. Blockchain technology is well-developed technology, and it's not associated only to these digital currencies. In effect, in the simplest of terms, if we have the contract signed and set up in the blockchain technology, this simply means when we deliver X, Y, Z, there's an automated handshake and everyone gets paid. Yeah, so blockchain is a phenomenal technology that hasn't reached its potential, and I really can't wait to see a day, which undoubtedly it's coming, when the blockchain for construction contract management will be well in place, because then we'll have these super binding contracts which are automatically executed.
Okay, Tony, Mohammed, or Reda, do you have any more you want to add before we move on?
So yeah, okay. So I believe, again, we are seeing the thing from other perspective as a developer. So from my point of view, I'm seeing the communication, the sustainability, the modular. This is going very rapidly accelerated. But the thing is gap there for me is the construction activities itself. Till now, we are using the technology to measure the productivity of the labor. But from my point of view, this is not improved a lot. For example, the building has been built 20 or 30 years back. If we are talking about, for example, building G+20, it takes like 2 years. Now, maybe by some technology, it will take 1.5 years. But to make it very rapidly, I believe there is a lot to not depend only for how we measure the productivity of the labor. Maybe another tools will come to improve this area. I believe this is from my...
Okay. What about 3D printing? We had a lot of fanfare about it a few years ago, pilot projects, a few examples over here, but has it really developed as expected?
I think 3D printing, yes, there was a huge hype on it, but I mean, obviously, like all technologies, after some time, the way I look at it, it has its value, but specific in certain type of projects, not in the type of the complex, very big project that we do. 3D printing, I still think it has its sweet spots for some developers and more the residential villa type projects, but I don't think it's gonna be across the high rise, the big complex commercial jobs that we do.
And Tony,
if I can just add to that. Firstly, the payment thing, totally agree with you, Damir. I think watch this space from Procore side of things, because there are big movements in that space from our side. So we certainly see that as a big area. But from 3D printing perspective, I agree totally. It's from a wide scale point of view, I don't think it's viable. I've seen solutions where, for infrastructure projects where there are drainage systems required on a very tight deadline, that product isn't an off-the-shelf product. 3D printing can be amazing for it. Okay, they can get that product printed really quickly and get it to site in a really quick time. So I think definitely underutilized, but I think it's really niche in terms of where it can be used effectively in the industry.
Just to build the last one on 3D printing, again, 3D printing needs your information, very early stage. and you need to design with 3D printing in mind. So we go back to, how did you design your project? Did you think about 3D printing? If not, it's going to become very difficult to implement afterwards.
Yeah, okay. Reda, I'm obviously very conscious of the fact that you're there listening. Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Well, 3D printing is not something that I've dealt with before, but I think within the region, it's been tested in very specific projects, because the regulations also for building are not adapted yet. I think with 3D printing, they require more robust buildings, but for a specific purpose, it will be very useful, and it has been implemented in Saudi Arabia for quick deployments of some temporary buildings because of the ease of deployment and the speed required. It was helpful, but it's not widely spread yet.
Okay. And a question that's come in, actually, I can see here, is how has construction technology impacted efficiency and productivity in your project? And that was actually something that we'd planned to talk about. So let's move to that. I'll open that up.
Yep. I'm just going to read out an email that I have received on 22nd of May. So I think it was last week. It's all a blur. This is email from the client. After activating the XYZ software solution, I would like to inform you that we are very happy with the progress you have made in a very short period of time, especially when we presented it to senior management of the insert client name, including the CEO and chairman of the board of directors. I would like to extend my thanks XYZ and KEO management for allowing us to use these smart services as a part of our service offering that has not changed much in decades. In addition, I would like to convey the appreciation of the client management for this work. Client has requested access for senior management as follows: Senior Vice President, CEO, and Chairman of the company. They are very excited to explore it themselves. So this is a phenomenal email that you can receive from the client, putting in a software solution to a project, which was a construction supervision project for a major client in Riyadh, as a matter of fact, in Saudi. We were over the moon. Now, for this great email that I've prepared, I think I've probably received 20 more, which this is not working, or please fix it. But this was very, very inexpensive product. It's available to all of us if you swipe the credit card, and you can start using it in 10 minutes. We are really, trying to innovate as much as possible within the KEO International Consultants, and we are continually trialing a number of new products or build the products ourselves in the market. The software is not going to fix all of our problems, but it will help us.
And Imad actually is saying that, I mean, from your side of you, in terms with clients, are they embracing, is it easier to convince, how are you finding fewer objections when you're using these technologies or proposing them?
I think, again, we're lucky enough, we're in a region where it actually starts from top, where they're pushing the limits. So from a very senior level, from the country leads down to the developers, to the important clients, everyone is talking and pushing technology. So clients have never been an obstacle in the adoption of technology. Now, but then comes the realities. Is again the type of contract that you use. I mean, in the previous panel, we spoke about, does it actually increase the cost or does it reduce the cost? Sometimes it does increase the cost, because who are you comparing against? And this is comes the reality. So in terms of, do they actually object? Actually, they're super welcoming. They're very happy when you use technology, especially when they see value. But then the other element kicks in, and you start to challenge, how do we actually embrace it, work together? And I think it works really well when you work with some clients for over a longer period of time. This is where both teams start to talk the same language. Again, our systems and their systems need to talk too. But then comes also the other element which people are now starting to worry about, which is data. Data, where is it residing? Who's using it? Why are we sharing our information? And this is, again, especially with the whole AI explosion last year, everyone is now starting to say, what are we doing? Right? So there is lots of good use cases, huge benefits that people saw. Integration of all systems are definitely not there, which we're all working towards. But then comes the risk of now starting people to talk about, are you sharing? Where is it? What's happening?
And then another question that's come in, I'll move on to is, are there guidelines or standards that you find particularly useful in implementing new technologies? So Mohammed and then Tony.
So again, as we are here for business as a developer, I'm saying that the technology is serving also sometimes the business orientation. And I will give two practical examples for that. One of those, it was one of the community we start build 5 years back, which is Riviera. At that time, when we did the visibility study, the demand of the market need more studio, more one bedroom, which is the allocated load is not enough for that. And in order to achieve our business plan, we find we have to have 3 substation. In order to have it, there is no location of that. So even if we spend for the 3rd substation, for us, it's not increase the cost. It's serve our, but there is no location for that. So we had to step at that time. We revisit all the load, the electrical load and the cooling load through new software, which decrease 15% of the load. On the other hand, the selection of material, we got for the water heater, the chiller, and we select new technology of that, which is reduce another 50%. So it ends up with have 2 substations instead of 3, which serve our business plan.
Okay,
that's one of the big example I believe we fit.
And Tony.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned BIM. Imaj just mentioned data and how to kind of coordinate that. I think one of the big legislations or standards to look at for that is ISO 19650, which is all around the collection of data according to digital modeling, etc. I think that's one of the first standards that I've seen in the industry, certainly within the UK and Ireland, Europe, where they're really now trying to standardize the collection of data, the storing of data, the type of data that you actually want to store. So I think that's I think we'll start to see more and more of that coming in as technology really starts to take hold as well.
Okay, and Reda, again, on the standards question, if you have anything, and also, how are you trying to get more of the people who work for you embracing the technology use, nudging them maybe out of their comfort zones so that they're really starting to use and exploit the full power of the technologies that are becoming available?
Well, nudging the people in any organization is challenging, and taking them out the comfort zone is difficult. But taking into consideration and showing them the benefits of what's going to serve them and how will it serve them, and ease up the tasks that they're doing through systems and automation, easy reporting, using RPA, for example. It was hard for me to take deeply rooted people from the existing workflows and automated or introduced, for example, RPA. But the best way I found was implementing a proof of concept with the real data. Unfortunately, sometimes demos are not enough. Showing the client his real data in a proof of concept and the testing area, not in production, will make him feel the benefits. The accountants that I worked with were hesitant to switch on some good features of the system that they are using with the POC that showed them the capabilities and the load that will be lifted off their shoulders It was adopted easily. The POC was a little bit difficult in time consuming, but POCs, it was like a semi-implementation for me at that time. Once it was approved, the implementation was very smooth. It was approved immediately, and the benefits was realized very quickly because of the adaptation of the people.
Okay. Now, moving on to the final question, and I'm going to bounce through everybody for this one, which is what are the emerging technologies you're really excited about? Why? And also, what benefit do you see them bringing, and how do you then start to get your part of the supply chain or the value chain aligned behind that technology? So maybe if I come this way, so start with Tony and then come this way, and I'll bring in Reda as well. But Tony.
I'm going to be really boring, predictable, and it kind of leads into what I'm going to talk about, AI and predictive analytics. And it's not an emerging technology as such. It certainly is in construction. I think there was a big explosion, recently with it. But I think predictive analytics, for me, there's a huge future in that within construction. I mean, can you imagine a construction company going into their planning session, putting all of that data into a predictive analytics tool, and at the end of the kind of cycle, it churning out exactly when you're going to finish that project, how many people you need on the specific tasks, the costs and the risks involved. I think that's a beautiful way to think about how we can get this technology in the right people's hands. So I think that's definitely a technology that we need to see certainly a bigger growth of.
Okay, Mohammed?
I believe one of the area I'm seeing in the future could be really improved at the sustainable material itself, the manufacture of the material to be sustainable, because now we are choosing for the on-hand material to be sustainable, but the manufacture of the material itself to be sustainable, I believe that is the area I'm seeing for the next 10 years.
Okay. Reda, I'll come to you, and then Imad afterwards. So Reda?
Well, what my colleagues has just said now is amazing, but I would really like to see like a guideline or a best practice or even a platform that will drive me to achieve these goals, the data sets, data structures, augmented reality, the predictive analysis, the foundations for this to be built, to be achieved is essential. Some people are lacking the foundations, or the data or the processes are fragmented here and there. So having the platform or a guideline bringing you back to 101 data or ERP implementations or whatever would be magnificent, so everybody can be enabled to use AI or predictive analytics or whatever technology they want to use, and it will ease up the collaboration between construction companies, the developers, the clients, and everybody in the supply chain.
Okay, thank you. We actually have a couple of 101 sessions tomorrow on some key technologies, so if that's of interest, thank you, Reda, for setting that up. Imad?
I'm gonna go for two. I mean, I'll separate two type of projects. One is I would love to see a lot more modular projects. Again, if it's designed and modular, that's definitely technology that ticks many of the boxes that we've been talking about. So modular is one area. We would love to see a lot more of it. And on the in-situ type projects, I would love to see progress monitoring, an automatic way of detecting progress on projects. This is going to simplify lots of reporting, going to help lots of virtual teams to work, and bringing everyone together. Again, we've seen lots of pockets of excellence with lots of solutions over the couple of years, but no one have really got to the end of this. I think we're very close, but would love to see something in that space.
Okay. Damir?
Number one, I'd like to see more robotics, especially in the hazardous areas and safety. Number two, what Mohammed has mentioned, green and sustainable technology. By 2050, half of the world's population, including all of us, will be living in urban areas. There's so much work ahead of us. We need to build all of that. We need to build it green. We need to build it sustainable. Thank you, Rob, for the water, not using the plastics. Thank you for the cardboard sleeves. That's amazing as well. This is how we move forward. And clearly, one of the things that I believe we'll see monumental growth is in the advanced materials. Self-healing concrete and lots of composite materials being in use.
And please thank our time is up, so let's please thank our panel. Thank you.